in Des Moines, Iowa. And we have Billy Packer on the line talking about college basketball, and someone's been very patient to hang on, so go ahead. You're with Billy Packer on Saturday Sports Line.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to say that I think Billy and Dick, without a question, are the best college basketball announcing team around, and since they've been on, I've been fortunate to hear most of their games and have learned a great deal. My first question for you, Billy, is what do you see as far as the Missouri Valley? Is it a new emerging conference once again after maybe the downfall after the losing of the Memphis States, the Louisvilles, and the Cincinnatis, and even St. Louis? Do you think the Missouri Valley is now back on an upswing that is possibly going to push it more into national emergences in the future?
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. I was in St. Louis the other day, and a couple of us were talking and trying to remember all the teams of the former Missouri Valley Conference, you know, when Oscar Robinson and those fellows were tearing it up in the early 60s. And we couldn't think of all the names of the teams, but the only thing that I think is tough for the Missouri Valley right now is that geographical coverage that they have, which is very difficult to build up those natural rivalries. Other than that, the quality of play in the conference has really made great strides from top to bottom here of late. And certainly, I think last year it would have to rank among the top five. And in my opinion, it probably been the fifth best conference as far as play was concerned in the country. Larry Bird and his crowd had a lot to do with them getting some recognition. But it is a quality league now, and if Wichita State can keep their act together, they'll be in the top of the national scene again this year.
How much of a factor does the Wichita State scene, could that ruin the conference?
It can't ruin the conference, but it really hurts the credibility of a league because, you know, it always had the connotation of being, you know, an outlaw league or something along those lines, and, you know, a place where they get secondary kids academically and guys that transfer from other places in a junior college league and all those connotations which, you know, people stick their nose up to. And if Wichita State were to get serious penalties, I think that would hurt them somewhat in regard to a reputation. But I certainly don't think that would eliminate the league from being still a quality conference and still on the rise.
What did you think? Had you ever heard, I mean, I'm sure you've heard, what did you think of Lewis Lloyd?
Well, I saw him, you know, I saw him play as a junior, and I did not see him immediately after he got injured this year, and I saw him in a couple of senior all-star games. A real scoring machine. May have some problems on a professional level because in college he was too strong for guys that were smaller than he was, and he was a little bit too quick and maneuverable for guys much bigger than he was. And the pros, you know, that size sometimes gets in a lot of trouble. So I don't know if he'll have the great pro career that he had as a collegiate player.
Do you think that the NCAA, you know, now they're on Wichita, they found 100 allegations at Wichita. Do you think that they're only looking when there's trouble, or do you think that they keep a pretty stringent over everyone?
Well, I think it's almost an impossible task. I know that a number of years ago in the mid-'70s, they only had like 2 investigators, maybe 3 in all of the NCAA. It's almost kind of like the IRS. It's a very difficult situation to go out and be actively patrolling everybody. You're counting on people to send in their taxes accurately, just as you're counting on the NCAA schools to handle themselves the same way. I've been very interested in reading the reports coming from the Norm Ellenberger case, and the judge all of a sudden knowing more about college basketball than he does about law. But you know, let's face it, there are a lot of pressures on college coaches, and there are some schools that are built-in winners. There are other schools that are 50% type teams, and there are other schools that if you're going to win, you've got to do whatever you can to get them on up there, and some people are willing to sacrifice anything to get there. So it's a very difficult thing, and for the NCAA to be castigated for not doing a better investigation job, hey, if nobody was doing any cheating, they wouldn't even need a law enforcement group.
Sir, thank you very much for the call, and if you want to call back a little bit later on, we do have plenty of open lines at 282-5111. That's the local number. Toll-free Watts line with Billy Packer is 1-800-532-1111. Let's take another local call. Good afternoon to you.
Yeah, hello, Billy.
Hi.
I heard a lot about these Hawks, but we have an S school in the state called Iowa State under Johnny Orr.
Right.
And I was listening to him the other night, and he said we might be a little bit down, but give him a couple years. He said some of the recruits he has aren't in the top 50, but they can run and they can jump. So what's your opinion of Johnny Orr when he came to Iowa State for Michigan?
Well, I've known Coach Orr for a long time. Of course, I followed his great ball clubs at Michigan, particularly the team that got hosed that day at IU when on the tap-in by Benson. That was one of the best basketball games I've seen in a long time. He likes to recruit athletes, as he pointed out there, without reputation as such in regard to whether or not they had the great stats, and get them to run and play good hard-nosed defense. Coach Orr obviously he knows the game. He's a tremendous guy from a standpoint of his interest in competing, and I think that he took on that challenge with his eyes open, so I think he knows what he's doing.
What about the Big 8 conference in basketball? You think it came up the last couple of years with, well, Kansas State really did pretty good this year in the tournament, surprised a few people.
Well, I don't think that many people are surprised to go up against Jack Hartman when it comes down to a given game. His style of play, his teaching techniques, the fact that his team just doesn't make mistakes. You got to go out and beat them. Makes them a tough team to handle in NCAA playoffs, where you're trying to, go for the blowout. So I think that the Big 8 has been down some, and I can't really explain why. Maybe the fact that the Big Ten has come up so strong, and they somewhat take away that Illinois recruiting talent, the Iowa recruiting talent, and so forth. But I think the Big 8 has been well represented over the years, but maybe not jumping into that top 5 league so far.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you for calling up on WHO Saturday Sports Line this afternoon. And we have a long-distance call from Iowa City. Good afternoon to you.
Billy?
Yes.
Okay, this is local, not from Iowa City. We thank you for your kind comments about Coach Olson. I think we could fill you in a little bit. I got a chance to watch a lot of basketball games this winter on cable, and many times they would be half full, the gymnasiums, and they'd comment on what a good crowd they have. Iowa's new gymnasium is sold out, and they won't occupy it for another year. And I can't remember offhand. The guys maybe there can tell you how long that they've had capacity crowds at the basketball games.
Yeah, I know.
They just go crazy.
That's why I said it would never be a problem. In other words, their new facility has never been the thing that's been a hold-up for them, because the atmosphere that's been created inside the gym is more important than what the gym looks like.
And my question, I'd like to have you comment on what you think will be the top 10 teams this year.
Well, I'll mention some of them that I think are going to be very good. We've already mentioned that UCLA is going to be good. I think that Indiana, even without Isaiah Thomas, is going to be a tough team. North Carolina is going to be a very good team. Kentucky is going to be a strong team again. Everybody talking about Georgetown, and they will be awful good, but you got to remember, when you bring in freshmen at such important positions as center and power forward, they could have some problems there. So, I think that they'll be a team reckoned with in the East. The Big East Conference is going to be pretty strong from top to bottom, so it'll be well represented. I think that Notre Dame will be down this year, so probably the major independent club probably be a club like DePaul. And if Wichita State is eligible, I think that they'll be a factor.
Where do you think Iowa will fit in?
Well, they're kind of like Georgetown in a way, in the fact that they're going to have to come in with the young guys at very important positions. And when's the last time you remember freshmen dominating the front court in the Big Ten? And that's a pretty tough task to ask for them, but I think that they'll be a very representative ball club.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for calling up on WHO Saturday Sports Line this afternoon. Let's get to a Watts Line call.
Go ahead. You're with Billy Packer.
Oh, yeah, Billy Packer. Say, the humor part. Now, I don't know if you're really familiar with the Iowa State, rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
But then Mr. Orr and Mr. Olson, Orr said the next time we come down, there's going to have a picnic. And then the fans, and they put out a tablecloth and a picnic basket. Everybody got a kick out of that. And I thought, don't you think there'd be a little bit less tension in ball games to relax everybody?
Well, I'll tell you, Johnny Orr is the kind of guy that gets you laughing. At the same time he's got you laughing, he's eating your brains out. So, I think he's going for the setup there. I can remember him he and Bobby Knight are very good friends, and everybody knows obviously what a competitor Bobby is. And I'll never forget when Michigan and Indiana were going after each other in that great Big Ten race where they eventually met in the national championship game. They called me over the bench one day, and Johnny turned around and he said, "Packer," he said, "you just watched the second best team in the nation practice," and this was during the regular season, and he said, "and you're about to watch the number one team practice." He said, "So, son, you're about to be treated to the best two teams in the United States. Now get the hell out of here, and let's not hear anything more about what's going on down there in that ACC battery country." So,
well, you know what we got to do? Got to get out here next year for the Manna golf tournament.
Well, he's supposed to be a strong golfer, too. He's probably humoring him on the golf course.
Huh?
I said he's probably humoring him to death on the golf course, but I heard he's a fine golfer, too.
Oh, yeah, you bet. They're all a lot of good people.
We thank you very much for the call. We've got the AP Sports Summary coming up, and then a few more minutes with Billy Packer on the line to talk about college basketball, so stay with us.
Not only is the baseball strike still stalemated, but now some not-so-nice innuendos are creeping into the negotiations. After meeting twice today, once in the morning, once this afternoon, the owners rejected the proposal that federal mediator Ken Moffitt had put on the table. That rejection came after the players' side had accepted the plan. There were reports that owners' chief negotiator Ray Grebe had suggested that, in fact, Moffitt had not put that plan together, but that it had been engineered by some union folks. Players rep Marvin Miller reacting to that by saying it was a low scurrilous tactic. As it stands now, the owners have indicated they have no interest in getting together again until the players come up with a new proposal. As long as the strike went on, it became more and more apparent that the All-Star game may not come off as scheduled. Yesterday it happened, with next Tuesday's Midsummer Classic being postponed.
Millions of dollars in revenue and the prestige of hosting the 1981 Baseball Classic went out the window with the announcement from Baseball Commissioner Bowie Kuhn that the All-Star game has been postponed. The disappointment here in Cleveland is great among baseball fans and the business community as well, which would have profited from the game. Pete Spudich, spokesman for the Cleveland Indians, says rumors of a July 30th rescheduled date may not necessarily be true.
There has been no mention of a makeup date for it. That date that you mentioned, the 30th, was an alternate rain date.
Hardcore baseball fans are keeping their fingers crossed, though. If the game can be rescheduled, it could be played on the 30th of this month. All major league teams have the day off. Dave Steele in Cleveland.
There are some pretty elite names heading up the U.S. Seniors Open after 3 rounds. Tied for the top at 6 over 216 are Arnold Palmer, Art Wall, and Billy Casper. They have a one-shot lead over Bob Stone. The U.S. has taken the lead in the Davis Cup quarterfinals 2 matches to 1. The doubles team of Stan Smith and Bob Lutz defeated the Czech team of Ivan Lendl and Thomas Schmidt in 3 straight sets. The final 2 singles matches go tomorrow. Steve Ovett won the Dream Mile at the Oslo Games, turning in a time of 3 minutes, 49 and 25 seconds. Jim Militello on the Sports Line.
Baseball fans, don't despair. Though the strike has canceled Tuesday's All-Star game, faithful voters in the Des Moines Sunday Register's annual Iowans Dream All-Star Teen Poll have cast their ballots. And you'll find the results this Sunday on the Sports Opinion page in the Big Peach in Sunday's Des Moines Sunday Register. Who was the leading vote getter? Who would Iowans field in the All-Star game? You'll find the complete position-by-position rundown this Sunday in the Des Moines Sunday Register.
For great entertainment, tune to WHO Radio every Saturday night at 9:05 and enjoy the Bob Williams Big Band broadcast. You'll hear the finest songs and music of that golden era from the 30s through the 50s. Saturday nights from 9:05 until 10, the Bob Williams Big Band broadcast on WHO Radio. Great sounds for listeners of all ages.
If you're looking for real value in homeowners insurance, look into all that State Farm offers. State Farm has built a reputation for low rates on homeowners insurance over the years, and that value is still there today. Check your yellow pages and call the Good Neighbor State Farm agent near you. Ask for the facts and figures. Getting a good buy for your money is more important now than ever.
And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Presenting Bill Bixby for Diattack.
May I ask you something personal? Did you put on a little weight over the winter? You're not alone. Well, if you're thinking about dieting, the people at Contact have something that can help. New Maximum Strength Dietac with more appetite suppressant, but no stimulant. One capsule helps you control your appetite all day, helps you stick to your diet and lose weight. New Maximum Strength Dietac. It gives your diet a fighting chance.
Use only as directed.
The sound of sports, all sports, here at 1040 on the WHO Saturday Sports Line.
It's 11 minutes before 5 o'clock. Larry Cutler along with Mike Lee on WHO Saturday Sports Line. We're talking with NBC college basketball commentator Billy Packer. Billy, one thing I wanted to know, a lot of teams such as DePaul and Oregon State, and there were others as well, who were upset in the NCAA playoffs last year. They were the favorites in their particular regionals, and of course they sat back through a bye and were defeated by a team, and especially in DePaul's case, a team that was not nearly as talented. Do you think a bye really hurts a team that badly?
Well, it does. It's more an emotional thing than it is physical. You know, it's not a matter of them getting rest for a bye. The other team has had a chance to get out those NCAA jitters and has won a ball game. They have ultimate confidence going into a ball game, and you get the better clubs like in that particular case, DePaul St. Joe's game. DePaul definitely a better team. And as the game keeps moving on and they can't put the other club away, they start to freeze up, and the other club starts to get a much better concentration level. So I think it becomes a matter of almost a choke stroke type thing, and I believe that's what happened in the case of both Oregon State and DePaul.
Billy, nowadays there's a lot of talk about recruits, and I think, in my opinion, an undue emphasis on who is getting what for their money. And I just wanted to get your opinions on whether you thought there was too much emphasis being placed nowadays on high school recruiting or not.
Well, there's not too much emphasis put on it by the coaches, because if you don't have the raw talent, you're not going to take your club anywhere.
Let's talk about let's restrict the question.
About emphasis.
People on the outside, the writers.
Well, I think that there's definitely too much emphasis and exposure given to the high school kids, which puts additional pressure on them. A great high school record doesn't automatically guarantee a great collegiate player, although in most cases for the top 15 or 20 kids, they're almost can't-miss situations. But you go back and look at that McDonald's High School All-American team, and you can see there are even guys that were picked as the best 24 in the country that don't even turn out to be on a college squad in a given year. But in the pressures that are put on externally to the high school kid are really tough.
A final question for you, Billy. There's been a lot of talk about postseason tournaments wearing out excellent ball clubs. Of course, the Big Ten does not have the postseason tournament. How do you feel about postseason tournaments?
Well, it definitely used to have an emotional drain on clubs when only one team from a given conference was allowed to go in the NCAAs. Now I think that they are really losing their significance because it's no longer important who wins that postseason tournament because, like in the ACC, where it's been here for many, many years, you know that if you don't win the thing, more than likely 4 or 5 teams are going anyway. So it's taken away a lot from those postseason tournaments and probably has taken away that emotional and mental strain that it used to provide.
Billy Packer, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been a lot of fun talking about college basketball. Best of luck to you, and hopefully we can talk to you sometime in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, we're going to be talking